Hello everyone, it's me Varus, and in today's video I present to you my preliminary winter forecast for the winter of 2024 to 2025. And yeah, it's going to be a big one, lots of interesting details, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what I'm expecting on my early thoughts. So let's get right into it. So starting out with this graph presented to you by the Climate Prediction Center, basically tells us our ENSO probabilities, whether we'll get a La Nina or El Nino or neutral, which is a pattern in our pattern about the temperatures in our equatorial Pacific Ocean waters. So down here we see the season. We're going to be taking a look at December, January, February. D for December, J for January, F for February. And then this over here on the left side of the graph is a percentage chance of whether we'll have a La Nina, neutral, or El Nino. So taking a look at DJF, we see around a 66% chance of a La Nina and around a 34% or 31%-ish, kind of like a 30% chance for neutral and a 70% chance of La Nina. So that tells me that we'll be expecting a weak to moderate La Nina possible for this winter, and that's going to have some implications on our forecast. So here are the model predictions. We have multiple little models, but let's take a look at the three main averages. We have the climate prediction console in this blue line right here. We have our dynamical averages in this hot pink line, and then our statistical averages in this yellow line. Let's take a look at the dynamical average, which is kind of right in the middle. And it basically shows by December, January, February, we're expecting a borderline moderate to weak at La Nina. And this basically will have, again, impacts on our winter on specific things that will affect our winter, such as higher precipitation in the northwestern U.S., lower precipitation in the southeastern U.S., etc. So this will likely change. We'll keep fluctuating, adjusting to current trends, but this is what we're expecting for now. Getting into the impacts of La Nina, and these are the typical La Nina impacts: dry and mild for most of the south and central U.S. because we have our polar jet extended way up here in the north, and this basically brings consistent systems riding this jet and brings moisture and colder air to the north and drier, milder air to the south. So this is our typical La Nina impacts for winter. So now I'm taking all of this, all the forecasts, other people's thoughts, my thoughts, the National Weather Service's thoughts, etc. to make my forecast. So let's start out with our temperature forecast. I'm expecting above average temperatures for the entire Gulf Coast, Eastern Seaboard, and Southwestern U.S. Above average, especially for the southern tier, especially. And this is because again, polar jet is way up here, and that's what's going to cause warmer air to surge in and cause warmer temperatures. Now, in the middle, I expect average right around where that northern jet is situated, right here. And then above that, I expect below average temperatures, given we're going to have frequent cold blasts north of that polar jet, and that will cause cooler temperatures for lots of the north central and areas of the Midwestern U.S. Getting into our precipitation forecast, I'm expecting above average precipitation, wetter conditions for the northeast and especially Midwestern U.S., and above average for the northwestern or / Pacific Northwest. This is again because of our frequent storm track, and this is going to cause many systems in our cool ocean flow to provide lots of moisture for the winter of 2024 to 2025 for the Pacific Northwest, and lots of precipitation for the Midwest and Northeast, but sometimes not necessarily in the form of snow. And the white is just average. Expect your typical precipitation or equal chances of above average or below average. And then down here in the South U.S., I expect below average, especially for the desert Southwest, as most of the storms and activity will be situated north of you guys. Now getting into our overall forecasts. A lot to go over. Very, very interesting. We're going to work ourselves west to east, starting out with the Pacific Northwest. I expect cool and wet conditions, kind of like this fall, which will extend well into winter. Low pressure systems in combination with the cool Pacific flow will cause wet and cold conditions in the form of rain and snow, especially in the higher terrain. Moving into the mountain snow area, I expect mountain snows all throughout here and the mountainous terrain of California. Typical mountain snows sometimes can be very, very heavy mountain snows, especially for the Rockies and areas over here. And then moving south, a mild, dry, stormy periods for the south U.S. So it is mainly going to stay mild and dry, but at the time when we do have those storm systems, warm, moist air will clash with cooler air, and that's what's going to spark some severe weather with specific storms in some of these areas down here. Moving up north slightly, cold shots is what I have for this very thin, narrow area between that and the winter battle zone. I expect some colder shots, typical uh, cold shots that come in will deliver and bring below average temperatures. But besides those cold shots, expect average precipitation, average temperatures, and snow is definitely still possible for some of these areas. And we'll move north now into the winter battle zone. And this is pretty north, I would expect, than many other people are saying. And this is just given recent winters, recent trends. Winter battle zone right here. I expect rain, sleet, freezing rain, snow, grapple, any type of precipitation you can expect for these areas. As storm systems could trek well north, causing warmer air and ultimately rain, or they could trek way more south, okay, and cause colder air and snow. And then you could also see something that kind of comes right in between. And that could cause rain changing to snow, or snow changing to rain, or ice in between. So, very interesting. Lots of different precipitation types is what I'm expecting for most of the mid-Atlantic, areas of the Midwest, and into areas of the central/western U.S. Now heading north, I expect big snowstorms for most of the Midwest and north central U.S., as we'll have an active storm track almost inland cutting, and that will cause some colder temperatures and snowstorms for most of the north central U.S., especially major cities like Chicago, Green Bay, areas of Michigan, such as even Detroit, Minneapolis. I expect a little more active winter, Des Moines, etc., Omaha, and yeah. So that's that. Then we can move slightly more east for our last zone, which is interior snowfall for most of the interior northeast. This is if we have any inland cut or something like this. Colder air will be pulled in, and you'll have your typical inland interior snowfall in the interior northeast, and rainfall onto the more coastal regions or closer to the coast. Now, something I did not really mention in this forecast is we will also have our typical bouts of lake effect snow. Could be heavy at times, but at the same time, we could have lighter bands. But overall, expect your typical La Nina season with some surprises definitely to come. So, that is your winter overall forecast. I really hope you enjoyed. Just kept it quick, just to let you guys know about what I'm expecting on my early thoughts. Make sure to share below, subscribe, as there'll be much more fun content to come. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.